Welcome to Nice and Blunt. It's time for another mock draft here on Underdog. My name is Adam Riancho, and they've launched the Poodle $7 entry. Pretty, pretty decent payout if you do happen to win this. What is it? 60K to first. Not bad. A reminder: if you are interested in doing one of these mock drafts on Underdog, you can use my code Nice and Blunt, and if it's your first deposit, you get it matched up to $100. uh, Pretty good deal. So just so you know, code Nice and Blunt when you sign up on Underdog. But we'll take that out of the picture. We don't need that. Let's take a look at these rules because that's important to know anytime you're drafting what the rules are. It is best ball, so at the end of the day, there's no like time commitment during the season. It's pretty much just automatic highest score, and then it's half PPR, half a point per reception. And we have one quarterback, two running backs, three wide receivers, one tight end, one bench, and one flex, and 10 bench spots. So we're gonna get going, get into this poodle, and hopefully we don't have to wait too long. We're waiting for three people. So if you are watching, if you're interested, it's filling up quick. It's already full. So let's get it going, and let's hope we get a high pick. The odds are much better to win when you have a high pick. We have number 4. I like number 4 because my wide receiver 3 is Cooper Cup, and he is always available at number 4. His ADP is number 5. So even if someone goes without taking CMC before us, we should be able to get our guy Cooper Cup. And as long as he stays healthy, he was actually the best wide receiver on a per game basis last year. He was putting up elite numbers. Let's just take a look at Cooper Cup's stats before this draft gets going, just to remind you what exactly you're getting if he's fully healthy and the usage doesn't change. 13 of 15 for 128 and a touchdown, 11 receptions for 108 and 2 touchdowns, 4 for 44, but then 14 for 122, 7 for 125, 7 for 80, 8 for 79 and a touchdown, 8 for 127 and a touchdown, and then a game where he went down. So it's really just injury risk that I think is deflating Cooper Cup's value. People don't remember him being that elite receiver last year, and I think it's just a little bit unwise in terms of best ball upside. Best case scenario, especially for a tournament, the value you get at Cooper Cup at pick number 5 is definitely worth it. You could argue for him at number 1. Honestly, you could take him first overall, and it wouldn't be the wrong decision. So, yep, he's there, and that's who I'm going to take, especially with the 3 starting wide receivers in this format. That is definitely the advantage to lean into. So that's what we're going to do, and we're going to get every pick here into the frame. Readjust our settings a little bit. And that feels pretty good. That feels pretty solid. We're ready to go. In the comment section, not a huge drop off in wins versus losses with him, which is huge. I assume you're talking about Cooper Cup in the comment section, Angus. Yes, I don't understand the question, but yeah, there's not a drop off at all with Cooper Cup compared to his peers. That's for sure. I think there's like a significant tier break following Cooper Cup. I think it's appropriate to start thinking about running back, and honestly, Stephon Diggs may take a bit of a hit. I feel like Josh Allen started to regress a little bit last year, and it's possible with Dalton Kincaid coming into the mix, it's possible that Josh Allen throws a bunch of interceptions. It's possible the team just isn't as good. So it's not that I wouldn't take Diggs at number 5. I think whoever gets him right here is getting great value at number 10. Damn, that's a good spot for him. But at number 5, I can't say I like automatically hit it if it's not for this 3 wide receiver setup. Then yeah, Stephon Diggs. Not sure he's like totally the vehement number 5 pick. I think you can pivot to CMC, even Eckler, and not feel bad about it. But games when Rams lost versus when they won, his stats were about the same. Now I completely understand. Yeah, their offense doesn't have a bunch of weapons, especially after trading away Allen Robinson. Not that he was like huge for them, but like, who's the next guy? It's Van Jefferson. It's Tutu Atwell. It's Tyler Higbee. It's Puka Nukua. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. But he's definitely the massive target hog on that team. It's just a matter of, does he stay healthy? Is he really worth a first round pick when the season is over? At least when it starts, that's definitely the case. But like last year, if he misses half the season and Stafford goes down, even if it's not a super serious injury, like last year, it wasn't like, I believe it was just an ankle injury for Cooper Kupp. It's not like he has a massive timeline to recover. I think if he was ready to go in December, they would have started him if they were in playoff contention, but we all know what happened with the Rams. They were not very good last year. If the quarterback stays healthy, then they could make another playoff push. The NFC is pretty weak. But with our next pick, honestly, I'm very interested in going double running back with round 2, round 3. It's not like a super common strategy. And based on how this round 2 is going, there's going to be some really good talent available to us. It's possible we could get like Jonathan. Whoa, DK Metcalf at pick 18. I get it. It's a tournament. You want to go contrarian sometimes, but holy, I cannot endorse that. That's a bad pick in my opinion. Whoa, yeah, not how I would go. Damn it, T Higgins is off. There was definitely an advantage with grabbing T Higgins, but I've never taken Taylor because he never falls to me, and I think he's definitely worth it in the late second round. But his ADP of 13, 14 is too pricey for me to get him here at number 21. Yeah, I'll do it. Why not? Definitely not a common spot for him. He's always on the other side of the. Would it be? What would it be? My voice is weird today, but usually you get Taylor at the 1-2 turn, not late second round. So Cooper Kupp and Taylor is not a common combo. I'm happy with that. Definitely a unique 1-2 start. But I love players like Breece Hall, Tony Pollard. We took a look at the listings here. I mean, if we're not going with an elite quarterback, which might be worth it at pick 28, we would be having our favorite option of one of these 4 running backs. My preference would be Breece Hall. That's a guy I think is going really undervalued. Should be going in round 2, but is going in mid to late round 3. And pick 28 is definitely before his ADP. So I'd be really stoked to get Breece Hall. It's not that I don't value these quarterbacks, but I don't know. I think you can get some really good value later. And the fact that not only one of them has gone off at this point means this draft is definitely undervaluing that position. Sometimes you got to read the room, and no one's going to have, I guess maybe this Pollard, Derrick Henry combination, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, but Jonathan Taylor and Breece Hall, 2 really young players that have elite ceilings, top 5 floors. I'll be honest with you. I have Breece Hall as a top 5 running back. I really do. I think he's one of the best options. He was putting up 15.5 fantasy points in 6 games last season before going down. And then when he did go down after 12 snaps against Denver, he ran for like a 60-yard touchdown. He already put up 13.2 fantasy points in that game where he didn't even finish the first quarter. So Breece Hall's elite. He ran for over 5 yards per carry last year, something that Jonathan Taylor was able to do 2 years ago. Taylor actually fell to 4.5 yards per carry this season. That should go up. Their offensive line is good. He also missed a lot of time. And with a running quarterback in Anthony Richardson, there should be some coverage taken away from him. He might get some easier boxes in terms of the defense might not scheme as much for him in the run game with that running quarterback to accommodate for. So that combo is really, really nice, and especially with just this team with Jamar Chase, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, with the same build, at least in this draft, no one can compete with our advantage at running back other than Team 2 over here. So that's a good strategy. I feel really happy with this start, and we'll see where we go. But a quarterback that's going super cheap, that's a great stack option, obviously Matthew Stafford. If he plays as well as he did 2 years ago, then he's going to put up almost 5,000 yards and over 40 touchdowns. That's what he did when they won the Super Bowl. And if it happens again, his ADP is way, way too low. He does offer legit league-winning value. He's going to be our backup. I definitely don't want to bank on him completely, but he's definitely a really valuable player where he's going. But Watson, Herbert, and Fields later are some pretty big values. Completely agree. Completely, completely agree with that. Okay, we're back. Sorry, the camera paused real quick. But yeah, especially Herbert in round 5, pick 52 is exactly where his ADP goes. I love that. I'm willing to reach on him in round 4 if, let's say, you have Eckler on your team. Very few people have the Eckler Herbert stack. The ADP does not line up for that. So I'm not afraid to reach on Herbert if you have a guy like Eckler instead of hoping for him to come back around at like pick 57 like this team might be trying to do. They have 3 Chargers, Eckler, Mike Williams, and Keenan Allen. I'm going to be honest with you. If Herbert's available at 52, I'm probably going to spoil their plan. That's just my preference. I love the value on Herbert, but Justin Fields is falling to us possibly. That might be valuable. Burrow's going to be on the board. This pick in round 4 is definitely not going to be a quarterback. I'm going to hope that we still get our guy coming back around because 2 of the teams at this turn also have a quarterback of their own. I really doubt they're going to do that. So at least one of these 2 quarterbacks should be still on the board if this team ahead of us does not take Fields or Burrow. But wide receivers definitely the plan. I'm a believer in Jerry Jeudy. I take him a lot. He's one of my highest drafted receivers. I can't say I like fully trust Terry, Drake London, and DeAndre Hopkins. You can get Jahan Dotson later, so I think he's really valuable. But none of these teams have more than 1 wide receiver, so that's definitely something we need to capitalize on. And I'm going to get my favorite player in this bunch. Hopkins is interesting, but with the quarterback situation up in the air, I don't trust the touchdowns to hit on a consistent basis. I prefer the upside with Jerry Jeudy. And I already have 1 veteran wide receiver that's I'm pretty sure Kupp is 30 years old, right? When is his birthday? Let's go to his stats throughout his career. Last year he was age 29. Yes, Cooper Kupp is age 30. I don't want 2 really some of the older veteran wide receivers that you can draft early on this roster. I don't think that's the wisest thing to do. We already have some legit injury concerns with Cooper Kupp. I mean, Breece Hall and Taylor both missed considerable time, and it's not like Jeudy has been super healthy throughout his career either. But Hopkins is on the older side, definitely a bit risky with him on our team. But look, are the plans going to work out? We're either going to get Burrow or Fields. I did mention Herbert was a very tempting pick, but these 2 quarterbacks are falling, especially if we can get Fields at pick 52. Damn, that'd be dope. He has 40-plus point upside. His ceiling is elite. There's going to be some weeks where I'm really tempted to rank him at number 1 this season. He also has some great matchups in division. His opposing defenses aren't that good. Like, Green Bay has the best defense in that division, and their teams are not going to be too good either. I could see them beating the Packers at least once this year. Not to mention the shootouts the Lions and the Vikings. Fields is still available as long as I get sniped. I think that's excellent value. I feel like I'd be a little foolish to pass on Fields. Definitely not a common spot to take him. So let's hope for the best. And there it is, Justin Fields, round 5, pick 52. I feel pretty good about that. Yeah, I'm happy to take him in round 5. The risk is baked in, and the ceiling is top 3 possibly. So I'm pretty comfortable with that. Yeah, I don't regret passing on Josh Allen at pick 28 at all, given what ended up happening 2 rounds later. That's a nice start. I feel really good about our running backs. Not going to have to hammer that position too much as it quickly starts to dwindle. Like, especially when you're in the front half of the draft board, this round 5-6 turn is the sweet spot for running backs. And if we took Miles Sanders here compared to who we're going to get in round 6, we'd be really underwhelmed with who that player is. Like, we're going to see a run on running back go off right here. I think at least 5 more in the next before our next pick. And the guys who are available at that position are going to look rather different if these top 5. I mean, can't say I'm like super confident with Kenneth Walker after they drafted Zach Charbonnet. Jones is also an interesting kind of questionable situation in Green Bay with a new quarterback. Dobbins should have some upside. He goes off, but Damian Pierce gets some backup competition in Devin Singletary, a legit contributor, going to be more of a committee, in my opinion, in Houston this year. And then Cook. Wait a minute. I saw something on Twitter. Vikings. Twitter. They had a banner up recently with their top 4 like offensive players, and Dalvin Cook was not in it. Alexander Mattison was in the poster. And that's a big ass sign that they're moving off Dalvin Cook. If you're looking for a reason not to draft Dalvin Cook, this would be it. Hopefully it's not too far down. I don't want to scroll too far. But yeah, just take my word for it. I saw it. I'll try and post it maybe in the community tab later today. But that's a huge sign that they are moving off of Dalvin Cook and on to Alexander Mattison. So that's not a player I think is safe right now. He's most likely going to get cut. And if that's what happens, if he has his complete decision of who to take in terms of who to go to in terms of teams, I definitely see him going to like a team like Buffalo, maybe Kansas City, and those are committees. Buffalo is where his brother plays. That's where I would lean. And in my last mock draft, I was asked whether or not I thought James Cook or Alexander Mattison was a better pick in like round 7, 8. And now I'm starting to feel like my answer was wrong. I originally picked James Cook because it was safer, but just a few days later, I'm already on the Alexander Mattison bandwagon. I think he's probably going to be a top 20 running back this season. The committee could shock us, though. It's possible that Ty Chandler and Dwayne McBride, the rookie 5th-round pick, do steal a lot of touches. Mattison has also not been like super durable. Sometimes when you've had him as a backup to Cook and it was his time to shine, he's also gone down. So he's not like super reliable. His contract isn't massive either. Like this is Over the Cap website where you can find a lot of contract details. Where are the Vikings? There they are. Oh wait, we're on the clock. No time to do that right now. We need receiver, and George Pickens is in the thumbnail. But I'm going to be lying to you if I told you that Pickens was more valuable than JSN. I'm definitely going with JSN. We're going to see if hopefully Pickens is still available. But just because there might be a little bit of good karma involved in taking the player in the thumbnail, I just can't sit here and tell you that if JSN falls 9 spots, you need to reach on Pickens over him. I'd be very foolish to endorse that, and so I'm taking the value. The rookie with literally the ceiling of Cooper Kupp. JSN could literally be the next Cooper Kupp in this league. Perfect slot receiver with a ton of touchdown upside. He was better than Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson when they played together at Ohio State. And that 9 spots below ADP is absolutely the value I'm looking for. In terms of my wide receiver 3, there's really, really high upside. It also opens the door for Geno Smith to be our backup quarterback, but maybe not. But I have a feeling we're going to get George Pickens falling to us. There's only 2 picks left, and so far that is the case. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we get sniped, but I don't hate some of these other options. Like I love Treylon Burks. He has top 20 upside any week, especially if Will Levis becomes the quarterback. There'd be more of a pivot, I think, to throwing the ball. Unfortunately, Pickens goes off. Bummer, but Burks is still there, and I'm tempted to go Jahan Dotson. I like Jahan Dotson quite a bit, but I've also drafted him a ton, and I think Burks has a higher ceiling, less competition. He was, after all, drafted. Actually, no, Jahan Dotson was drafted first, but he was drafted right after they trade away A.J. Brown, and after last year's debacle with that situation, especially getting embarrassed by Philly, there is a lot of incentive to make Treylon Burks a legit elite weapon at wide receiver in this league. As our wide receiver 4, I don't hate it at all. Definitely a big target share is what I expect for Treylon Burks next season. So even though we didn't get Pickens, that was kind of unfortunate. Would have liked to get him in round 7. I am very happy to get JSN in round 6. That's a pretty dope value on JSN. So that's another benefit of these 2 elite running backs early. We didn't need to hammer that position because, like I told you, it's starting to dwindle. Swift is really interesting. The ceiling is definitely high, but in Philadelphia, it's a heavy committee, and Swift hasn't stayed healthy at all through his career. He always misses at least a few games. So a little bit risky there. And there's so many weapons. There's going to be some games where he's a heavy contributor, some games where he kind of disappears. I think Swift is going to be a heavy boom bust option. And in this format where we got to start 3 wide receivers at least, definitely more valuable to take wide receiver. And a pretty solid run at that position in round 7. Very interesting to watch. I don't think Bateman is totally worth this value. I'd rather go with Zay Flowers. I also love Odell going like 2 rounds later as well. I think he's also quite valuable. Sometimes 3 rounds later. Yeah, I think Bateman might be a little overvalued here. That's the thing about these tournaments. There's some weird picks. Like, some teams really reach on some players, and it's curious to see what people are willing to do. But you can always benefit sometimes by not taking that approach. Like, for instance, we got Fields a full round after ADP. We also got JSN 9 picks later. Sometimes it pays to be patient and just take what comes to you. Just take the checkdowns when they're available. But we do need to think about tight end with this team. I don't want to wait too long. But at that position, I think there's a big drop-off after Freiermuth. That 109 ADP is really tempting. I'm not afraid to reach on him at all. I think Ingram is also really solid. The Calvin Ridley addition in Jacksonville kind of throws that up in the air. But I think he's a really safe pick. And then if you miss out on those two, I don't love Njoku. He has some upside, but I can't say I'm like super convinced he's top 10 this season. Schultz is very interesting. There's not a ton of weapons in Houston. If he can keep doing what we've seen him do in Dallas, then he should be pretty solid. But a rookie quarterback, CJ Stroud, could make things a little unreliable. Schultz is definitely going later for proper reasons. I think his ADP is appropriate for sure. But I like the value on Dulcich. The Komet stack is interesting. I don't normally go with any Chicago receiver, but with Fields, it's definitely something to consider. He does have a bit of a nose for the end zone. Last year, 7 touchdowns and 69 targets was a lot less than the previous season, but at least 50 receptions both years. That's not that bad, but we're definitely not taking tight end right now. That'd be a massive reach at pick 93. None of these guys have ADPs inside the top 100, but those are the guys I'm interested at tight end. Players to remember later on, but every team in these next 8 picks, which I have 2 of, only has 2 running backs. I think that's probably the position we're going to go with because we're definitely going to get sniped later on. I'm just going to go with value again. This guy's falling. ADP of pick 77. We're getting him at pick 93. Fuck it. I can't say I'm like over the moon on Akers, but I'm definitely going to have more of an incentive to go with that Matthew Stafford stack later on. And there's like 20-point upside with Cam Akers. At least right now, there isn't like a ton of competition. Interesting to see what happens with Zach Evans. I believe that's or is it Sean Evans? No, it's Zach Evans, who's drafted by the Rams, and then last year they took Kyron Williams in round 5, but he quickly kind of evaporated in that committee there. So I'm not like super convinced that the backups are going to steal his thunder. As our RB3 in round 8, I think that's pretty solid. He's going to have some good value in our flex position, take a little bit of heat off of our wide receiver position, not have to rely on 4 every week, 1 in the flex spot as well. So given we have such strong value at the top, I don't think you need to hammer running back a lot in the mid-rounds. But round 8, round 7, or 9, I think is a good spot to consider your third guy, because there's nobody who has like the starting value of Cam Akers that's going later. Like, yes, James Cook is technically the starter, but actually Damian Harris is listed higher on the depth chart, and that's a heavy committee. Kamara's going to get suspended. Charbonnet's the backup to Kenneth Walker. A.J. Dillon's the backup to Aaron Jones. Brian Robinson also in a committee. Like, no one's a clear starter here. So I do feel like Cam Akers had also some tier break value. And again, we got him like fucking 16 picks after ADP. We're getting some good value here. I like this draft quite a bit, and players are just falling to us. That's one of the benefits of having pick 4. When you're pick 3, some of those really good values just don't fall to you. They get sniped quite often. But at pick 100, We still don't have a tight end, and I told you there was a tier break with Freiermuth. So even though we're technically reaching, we've gotten a lot of steals. We're going to go with Freiermuth and just lock up that position, feel really good about it. It also opens the door for Kenny Pickett as our stack at quarterback. He's also a really late ADP at that position that I really like. Like, if you miss out on the tier break of Russell Wilson, like every quarterback above Russell Wilson has a legit possibility to finish top 10, and at worst would be like top 20, I think, in like a terrible season as long as they don't get hurt. But they're very legit backups. You could argue that you can wait on the position and not hate yourself if you find drafting them as your number one option. But if you miss out on them as your backup and you don't have an advantage at the QB2, I don't like Kyler Murray, Derek Carr, Jordan Love. I think those are reaches. Murray's going to miss a ton of time. Love, I think, is going to lose a lot of games. And they have a run-first offensive game plan at the end of the day. I don't love those options. I love Stafford, I love Bryce Young, and I love Kenny Pickett. But unfortunately, the camera timed out. Dang, this has happened to me before. And I apologize if you really want to see this beautiful face so much, but I'm not going to end the draft early. I'm just going to give you my voice as the commentary. So apologies. I was fiddling with this camera and the batteries, and I put the wrong one in. We live and we learn, but last time I fiddled with this, it just didn't get going. So we're just going to go ahead and give you some commentary here on these picks. But with our next pick, let's just try and plan it out. What is the situation with these last four guys? 2-2-3-2 is their build. 1-2-5-1, 2-3-3-1, 2-3-3-1. Okay. So wide receiver is probably the way to go. There's two teams that have less than us and are probably going to take at least one, if not two, between us. So wide receiver is probably the plan with our next pick. All right. It's not the best spot for wide receiver, honestly. Not very good, but I like Sky Moore a ton. I like Adam Thielen a lot if you want some like early value. He's probably going to go down with injury, most likely, but that's definitely a solid pick. Don't hate it for sure. I'm going to try and get this thing going. It's possible that maybe I can get the camera back. I know it's not the end of the world, but obviously it's on YouTube, and like it's weird that there's no face for this voice. So apologies, but I'll stop apologizing. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, so we don't want to get sniped on Sky Moore, but if we do, it's possible we go Anthony Richardson, who's falling a ton. Crazy, crazy low. It's interesting. Damn, pick 117 for an ADP of 90. I don't think it's necessary. I think I'm just going to go with the guy I don't want to get sniped in Sky Moore. There's a lot of value in that Kansas City offense, and it's hard to replicate a player like Sky Moore going later, like especially if Kadarius Toney goes down, a guy who has dealt with injuries in his career. Sky Moore would vault into that number one wide receiver spot, and he'd be an amazing, amazing option for Patrick Mahomes as the number one wide receiver. I loved his tape coming out of college. I was a strong believer in Sky Moore last year. The fact he scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl also helps. That's a good sign. Okay, once I get this pick in, I'm going to give it a shot. Maybe we can get the camera back. I think it might be okay. But with this pick, no, we do not have Richardson available to us. He goes. I'm not worried about it. This team took Hurts, Deshaun Watson, and Anthony Richardson. I don't like that strategy. Okay, so it's very tempting to go with Dalton Schultz, but I don't think we need him. We only have 3 running backs, and honestly, I can't stop drafting Jerick McKinnon, especially this double tap with the Chiefs' offense. Really high upside, and if one of them doesn't work out, then it's even more likely the other one works out. They're both really good receivers. Jerick McKinnon took a lot of house calls to the end zone last year. Jerick McKinnon very solid as our running back 4. Definitely not a player we need to rely on, but offers a lot of upside. If he does get in this lineup, there's 20-point upside for sure. And we're back. There it is. All right. Yes. We're back, baby. All right. With that, it's a good omen. I think it's we're at the midpoint in the draft. Round 11 is taken care of. Time to pack a bowl, kind of relax, and ease into the second half of this draft. If there's any players you're curious about, want an opinion, feel free to fire away questions. I'm happy to answer them. I'm just gonna take it a little bit easy. This bong rolling. If you want to join me, please feel free to spark up as well. But just give me a second. Also, shout out my buddy Angus, who's in the comment section. This is the weed that he grew. He's shared it with me, and it's been a beautiful, beautiful journey. This weed is good, Angus. I don't know what you did, but I know it's organic, and it gets the job done. Comes in clutch. Really appreciate you, buddy. But I've always been more of an indica smoker. It's kind of been my jam. I feel like this is more of a sativa, and I don't know. Maybe it's time to pivot. Maybe it's time to favor something new. I feel like just in general, things are kind of changing. The vibes. We're in like almost like a new era. It feels like, but maybe that's a conversation for a different video. Anyways, some players going off in this range. Our last pick was Jerick McKinnon, and I can't say there's like other guys that offer a lot more value. Maybe Jamal Williams gives you like a few weeks of strong viability if Kamara does indeed get suspended. But Kendre Miller going right behind him is a big red flag. They drafted him pretty high. Kendre Miller has a forte of being a goal line back. I could really worry that those 17 touchdowns that made Jamal Williams elite last season just kind of disappear. We could see maybe like 5 or 6 on the season, and that'd be really rough. That would be very disappointing. So I'm worried about Kendre Miller quite a bit. And for the moment, Kamara is still being drafted ahead of the 2, but I'm not sure that's wise. I really feel like that suspension is looming, and I'm very worried to draft Kamara myself. Damn. We got a pick here. Oh, we were considering Thielen before this. We may want to go Cole Kmet, though. Stafford gets sniped. That sucks. I'm going to go Thielen. Fallen a little bit. And then it also opens the door for the Bryce Young stack, another player we mentioned. Also has great value going late if you want to capitalize on late round quarterback and get the stack. It's possible we can go Thielen here, maybe DJ Chark in the next round. That'd be pretty solid. Kmet goes off, however, so our field stack is no longer possible. I might go Chase Claypool later. That's an interesting option. Super cheap on Chase Claypool. Also has a lot of touchdown viability. I think he's going to be heavily targeted in the red zone, but not much else. I don't feel like Chase Claypool's going to have a ton of targets this season. I'm worried about Mooney really overshadowing him as the number 2 behind DJ Moore. But DJ Moore is not a player that typically scores a lot of touchdowns, usually like 4 per season. So that's where I think Claypool could really capitalize, especially if there's fewer targets going to Cole Kmet in the red zone. I'm a little bit worried about all of the Chicago receivers, honestly. But because he's going so much later than either of the other two, Chase Claypool does have some interesting value at like the 17th, 18th round, somewhere around there. With this pick, though, we're probably going to go tight end. I mentioned Greg Dulcich, a player I really like. We have Freiermuth, but he's not like the only guy you want to have. So this is a good spot to hit that position. And yeah, I'm going to go Greg Dulcich, who had a lot of good games last season. Let me pull up his game log. Okay, so once he came back from injury, yes, there were some injuries on that offense in general that boosted some of his targets, but in his second career game, I mean, his first, he was 2 for 44 and a touchdown. That's not bad at all at the tight end position, but then 6 for 51, 4 for 87, 1 for 11, not great, but what tight end doesn't have a terrible game every now and then? 4 for 30, 2 for 11, 6 for 85, 3 for 42, 1 for 11, 4 for 39, and another touchdown. That ceiling is definitely there with Dulcich. There is some value, and especially as our backup late in the draft. Can't knock it. Feel really good with Dulcich. The stack with Russell Wilson, also an interesting strategy. Good value on that as well. We're going to see what happens with this Sean Payton offense, but any of the receivers could pop off. We do have Judy as well on this team, so it would have been nice to maybe get that stack, but it's not the end of the world. Definitely not the end of the world at all. But I was going to do something, and I did not. Got distracted. It's weird. I get self-conscious about the inhale for some reason. I've always like edited it out when I put it in videos, but I don't know. It's just more comfortable to inhale off camera and then exhale right into the camera. But maybe I'm just weird. Life's weird, bro. Very, very strange. But we're coming up on the tail end of this draft, which means flyers, nothing but flyers. Taking quarterback this late is always really valuable. But let's just try and think about like when our team correlates in terms of like time. Like, are there weeks that some of these players might be better, like earlier on rather than later? And if there's maybe if this team might be leaning in one of those directions rather than the other, maybe we want to focus on a player that maybe does the opposite for us. Like Thielen is a perfect example. If he goes down, he's not going to have any value at the end of the season. You need a full season for him to keep contributing in the fantasy playoffs, but at the very least, he's going to be strong week in the early weeks. He has a week 5 matchup against Minnesota, revenge game for Thielen. That's going to be really dope. Definitely a good game for him. But post-bye, they might start pivoting towards Jonathan Mingo a little bit more, and he might start to trail off. Whereas JSN might be lacking a little bit in the beginning and then start to gain a lot of steam later on. I also think that might be the case with Sky Moore, who's going to be behind Kadarius Toney on the depth chart early. So we might want a little more value earlier on rather than somebody later. And I've mentioned this guy a ton. I've been drafting him a lot. I think he's really valuable. He's actually falling to us a little bit. But Van Jefferson, if he is going to have value, would be in the beginning of the season when Matthew Stafford is healthy. I know we have Cooper Kupp already, but there's also kind of an insurance policy if Cup ever goes down, Jefferson's going to have a good game. And if anybody ever, clamps down the defense on Cup, then Jefferson would get open. So that's not a correlation that I'm afraid of. Like, normally it's not ideal to have two receivers on the same team, especially if you don't have the quarterback. But this is definitely a situation where it does mitigate some of the risk that Cooper Kupp offers. And if there is ever some games where he disappears, somebody's got to contribute. Jefferson is the next man on the depth chart. And they trade away Adam Thielen. He does get more targets. A couple years ago, he was amazing. Take a look at Van Jefferson's game log from, what would it be, 2021? Yes, 2021. When they did have Odell Beckham Jr. on the roster at the end. It did kind of taper off when he was the wide receiver 3, but once Robert Woods went down, actually I guess that was kind of all in the same time frame, but 3 catches, 88 yards, 3 catches, 93 yards and a touchdown, 6 for 41 and a touchdown, 2 for 58 and a touchdown, 6 for 90 and a touchdown. There's some elite games for him on not a ton of volume. Like, he can get lucky every now and then, and as our wide receiver 7, definitely contribute a solid amount for that draft capital. So I like it quite a bit, but some players we're still targeting would be Bryce Young, Kenny Pickett, with our Adam Thielen stack, our Pat Freiermuth stack. I think both of them are going to stay healthy. I guess Young is a little bit on the small side, but I love his schedule late in the year. I think Bryce Young is actually going to hit his stride post-bye. I'll pull it up right after this pick, but that's probably where I'm going to go. There's a lot of unknowns with him, but he was a former Heisman winner. Like, I know his frame is small, but I don't think this value is fair. I think people, to take him way after Jordan Love, I know Jordan Love is falling here, but I think Bryce Young is being a little bit underrated, if you ask me. I don't love running back here. Tight end is also a bit of a wash. Yeah, I'm going to go Bryce Young. Let's go with the stack with Thielen, especially if Thielen stays healthy. They pay him pretty significant amount. Okay, Adam Thielen's contract, fully guaranteed $14 million for the next 2 years, an average of $8.3 million per season. For a player that at age 33, who you don't expect to get a full season, let's be honest, there's always some risk involved at that age for him missing games. That's a pretty solid investment. That's a pretty solid contract. And it's not like the Panthers have a ton more options on their depth chart. It's really just DJ Chark and Jonathan Mingo. Laviska Shenault is still there, but he didn't really do much the last couple seasons in Jacksonville. We'll see what happens in Carolina, though. Terrace Marshall, bit of a deep threat, but non-factor so far in his career. Not sold on him. And then Damiere Byrd, Shi Smith, Josh Vaughn. Adam Thielen's their guy. Definitely the highest paid player. And as long as he stays healthy, definitely a good, stack option with Bryce Young. I like the value on Thielen and Bryce Young a ton. Very, very good options. Okay. So that means we don't need quarterback anymore. We could actually go with a third quarterback, but I'd rather go with a third tight end, given we waited quite a bit. Freiermuth and Dulcich, not going to hit all the time, a little touchdown dependent. But let's just take a look at some of these teams behind us. Not too many running backs. But one of these teams only has one tight end. They have Kittle and Njoku. Okay. I don't think we're forced to go any which way. But given our build of 2-4-7-2, might behoove us to go running back. I think Fournette is really interesting. Definitely a player that could have a ton of value. I mean, his projection is, I guess it's 0, but it doesn't matter. Even if he doesn't sign by week 1, someone's going to get hurt that's a starting running back in the NFL, and a guy like Fournette is going to slide right in to that team. I think he wants touches. I don't think he needs to chase a ring. That might be what he wants to do, but actually, yeah, he might try and do that. Still, though, Chuba Hubbard also very interesting. If Miles Sanders were to ever go down, he'd vault into a ton of touches, and we do have the Bryce Young correlation, another stack option. I don't hate it. Don't hate it. Wide receiver isn't, like, really speaking to me, and neither is tight end. Oh, we went Leonard Fournette. That's a bummer. Not the end of the world, but definitely would have preferred to take Chuba Hubbard, given our build. It's okay. This is round 17. And I definitely want one more tight end. But honestly, my boy is going undrafted, and I will remind you of his name once again for the second draft in a row. If you made it to the end last time, then you know who he is already. But rookie tight end that I think is really valuable. Really, really valuable, and it's not Michael Mayer. Not Michael Mayer. Did get drafted in the same round as Michael Mayer, though. I think a better situation for fantasy purposes, though. A better quarterback who also trusts the tight end position. You may know who I'm talking about, but maybe you don't. Not going to take him here, though. If Chuba Hubbard's still available, I'll definitely go with the 2-6-7-2 build, because I trust my wide receivers. I feel good about Cooper Kupp, Jerry Jeudy, Jackson Smith and Jigma, Burks, Moore, Thielen, Jefferson. Damn, I wish I didn't put in Fournette in the queue first. But we're definitely taking Hubbard. Unless I can talk myself out of it. We'd be going with wide receiver otherwise. But no, that is not who I'm going to take. I'm going to go with Chuba Hubbard. Fuck it. Let's take another look at the Panthers' depth chart. They do pay Miles Sanders a hefty sum. But behind him, it's not anyone to worry about. I mean, Blackshear did steal some touches last year, but it's a new coach. It's a new staff. And the situation we're looking for is if Sanders goes down, Hubbard would have elite value at the end of the season if he was the starter week after week. But can't imagine Blackshear is going to have more than just like 3 or 4 games with a touchdown and very, very low value. So not worried about that at all. Do we go with wide receiver 8 or do we go with tight end 3? Probably better to go with tight end 3. Schoonmaker. He's my boy. Dallas tight end who has more draft capital than Peyton Hendershot or Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson is going higher in the ADP. And I don't think Hendershot is going higher. But I just don't trust him. They're going to spread it around a lot. It's not like he's like super valuable, but at least there's like legit upside that he catches like maybe 8 touchdowns. That wouldn't shock me. He has really good stats. Really good stats out of Michigan. 5th-year senior coming out of college as well, 6'5", 250. And that means he probably knows how to block pretty well. And his receiving numbers really popped last year in 12 games, 35 catches, 418 yards, 3 touchdowns. Really good numbers for a college tight end. And in some of those games, it was just really, really good numbers. Like, I've shown you this in a previous video, so if you've already seen it, I apologize. But some high upside games. 7 for 72 and a touchdown. 9 for 67 and a touchdown. 4 for 45 also pretty solid. 5 for 70. 3 for 76 and a touchdown. Schoonmaker is legit and could have elite value if he pops in year one. I don't trust Brandon Cooks. I don't trust Gallup either. And CeeDee Lamb is just going to get so much heavy coverage. Same with Tony Pollard. In the red zone, I think they're going to lean on the tight end position massively. I think that is the spot to hit for Dallas. If you're not getting Pollard, I don't love the ADP on some of the receivers. CeeDee Lamb is worth a second-round pick, so don't hate his ADP, but can't say I'm a believer in the Cowboys too much this year, and I think they're going to lose a lot of games. Dak Prescott scares me a lot. So many interceptions last year, and they're losing one of the best offensive coordinators in the league. It's just not going to be the same. I see them taking a big hit, but talked about that in a previous video. You can check that out. Oh, no. I guess I'd have to add it later in post. Still getting used to this live stream thing, but yep. Luke Schoonmaker, league-winning tight end, round 18. There's definitely that possibility. Trey McBride's not bad, but that offense is not going to score as much. Is it worth going wide receiver? I don't think so. There's a chance that Corey Davis is actually really good, but he doesn't stay healthy. The last 2 seasons in New York have not been very good, and Garrett Wilson's just so much better. Alan Lazard is Rodgers' boy. Too risky, but he gets paid a ton. Corey Davis, from a pure contract standpoint, should outperform his ADP. So I'm just going to mention him, but I'm not going to draft him. I want my third tight end. And I'm going with Luke Schoonmaker at that position. So if you made it to the end of this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. But that's going to be it for me. Thank you for watching this live stream video here on YouTube. Have a good day. My name's